This is breaking this afternoon. Judges will now be given the power to order an offender to attend a sentencing hearing, including by force if necessary, under new plans that have just been announced by the Ministry of Justice. Now, this is after, of course, killer nurse Lucy Letby hid in her cell when she was last week handed a whole life order for killing 7 babies and attempting to murder 6 more. The government described this as a final insult to families and set about working on a new legislation. However, a timetable for this legislation has not yet been made clear. Jemma, what we know so far is that judges will be given the force to add longer terms, so longer years, spend more time behind bars if offenders refuse to sit in the dock. What do you make of it?
So firstly, it's important to say the only person I have no concern for here is Lucy Letby. It's difficult because I don't like it when politicians grandstand off the back of such a highly emotive trial that obviously affected everybody.
Yes,
right, absolutely awful. And this has been rushed through very quickly. Has it been a bit knee-jerk? Has it been to grandstand? What I will say is, I don't even want to imagine how these parents feel. I don't think I can quite go there in my head. It's too upsetting. Would you want that moment of closure? Would you want... I think you probably would. My worry, and I think the reason this hasn't been law before, is you're not necessarily going to get the outcome that you want. You're dealing with horrific psychopaths, right? So I don't know. Is there perhaps an argument to say that if that person is contemptuous, if that person says something vile, if that person does something that is the thing that you end up sitting with, rather than what you want, which is to see the person suffer as they get told they're never coming out of prison. Okay. You can't predict.
OK. Mark, the Prime Minister said it was unacceptable that for offenders not to face up to their sentencing. He says they cannot and should not be allowed to take the coward's way out. But what happens, though... You completely agree. Yeah. But what happens, though, in that sensitive moment, and it is a very important moment for the judge, the moment of sentencing. It carries a really important part of the process. And it's the judge being in control of the court. And in that moment, you're introducing someone in there who is sometimes got nothing to lose. I mean, the idea that you are going to add extra years for someone if they refuse to attend.
Anyway.
If someone's going to be serving 25 years and you say you're going to serve 26, is that going to make a difference? But the real question for you, Mark, is would you be okay introducing a wild element in that situation? Someone who could be shouting profanities, abuse at the families, victims.
I understand. I understand.
Is that the right way to go?
I think it depends on the victim's family, the victim's friends. If they want to see the person and the whites of their eyes as they're being sent down, then I 100% support that. I don't think you should have any option. You should have the responsibility of standing in front of those people that you've affected. No matter what the crime is, if it's affected the friends and family of that person, or it's affected that person, they would want to see them go down. They would want to not, like with Lucy Letby, she was cowering in a cell. I would rather see her cowering in front of me.
I have an argument to say, why didn't they film her, getting the reaction? It's not like we haven't got the technology these days.
Yeah, but that I don't agree with that personally. I would want to see the whites of the person's eyes that has actually done that to me.
You're not dealing with someone who's going to have a sort of a reaction that you might expect, because she's not sort of human on the level that we understand.
But that's okay.
I want to see the wrong way.
Well, in what way?
But you're saying, forgive me for interrupting there. You're saying you want to see that. And I think a lot of victims and everybody was upset that Lucy Letby wasn't there to face the families and also to face her fate, if you like. But we all have... Can this be described as perhaps a sort of a film-like scenario? What if the reality is very different? What if you get aggression, you get vile insults, you get violence? I mean, it says
or
here...
a smirk or something hideous like that.
It says here that the prison officers, staff custody, will be left to decide how much reasonable force they can use. do we really think that a family seeing someone be violent in a part of the court, is that going to help them?
I think it will, because then at least they know the person that they're dealing with. They should have no rights. They should have, no... You should be put in front of those people that you've affected. I don't care whether you're being aggressive. I get it.
But you do have rights. Even as a convicted prisoner, you do have some
human rights. You shouldn't be allowed to cower in your cell if you've done what that person has done. I can't even say a name. But it's individual cases, I get it. But if you've done a crime, you should stand there in front of the people that you've affected and you should... whatever they... Just see the whites of their eyes. I would want that as a person. I know that's an individual thing.
But also, it's that thing of, like you say, you can almost have this thing in your head, this idea that that's going to make you feel better. I don't think anything's going to make the victims' families feel better. I'm afraid to say, they've got a long,
I don't know if we can say that, because we haven't been in that position, and maybe it'd be hugely therapeutic to see the face of the person that's caused you all this grief, and to see their face when they've been handed their sentence. I couldn't put myself in those shoes. No. But my worry is twofold. One is I've yet to come across, because this, of course, has been discussed since 3 weeks ago when the case came out, and I've yet to come across a criminal barrister who has said that this is a good idea. So that concerns me, because I don't know enough about the law, and I have not been in court enough to know what happens. But the people who have also said this isn't quite workable, and I worry that this is legislation that's just been thrown in.
I think you're right there.
About the things that need to be tackled, and how quickly they have pushed this through.
Let's speak to Neil in Liverpool. Neil, good afternoon. What are your thoughts on this? This story is just broken. We're all coming to terms with it. What are your first thoughts?
My first thoughts are that they should be forced to listen to what the families have to say. But regarding them making such a fuss, I think there's a simple solution. That if you think of Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs, when he was taken to see the senator in the airline hangar, they had him on a trolley in a straitjacket with a gag, so you could wheel the people up.
No, are we really going to go back to Tudor times in 2023? Does that make us better as a society? These animals, us lowering ourselves to that?
I think we ask the victims what they want.
Well, what if they want what Neil's proposing?
Granted, there's a line.
Where is that line?
Whether you want to see them in the dock or not. I think it's their prerogative.
What Neil's proposing, this idea that you put a straitjacket and a gag. So where would you draw the line?
How
about them being handcuffed? And gagged?
No, I think.
So what happens if they start shouting obscenities?
But my point is that I would want to see that person squirm in court, in front of me, if he'd affected me or she'd affected me or whatever. It should be the family's prerogative that has been affected, whether they want to see that person in person or not. They shouldn't have any rights.
OK. All right. Well, look, Neil, thank you for kicking us off on that.